Hi, my name is Joanna Steele. I'm here at the Inspire Africa Conference, and I'm here with Taonga, Grace, and Shizuka. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you, Joanna. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Taonga, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where do you do your managing consulting at a company called BongoHive? Tell us a bit more about what you do there and what BongoHive is.
Sure. So BongoHive is a tech and innovation consulting firm in Zambia. It's actually Zambia's first. What is Zambia's first? I've been in existence for about 13 years now. Yeah. And our focus is supporting entrepreneurs and innovators to get the help that they need to ensure that they build businesses that meet the African context, but also that are scalable, right? So solving problems, real problems for real people in real ways. Very simply put.
Brilliant, brilliant. 13 years, that's my God. 13 years. My focus,
Thank you. My focus is around innovation consulting. So here we aim to help our clients solve their most complex problems, as we like to call it. It's where all the fun is. It's also very challenging, as you can imagine. You have to with sometimes clients that know that there's a problem, but sometimes it's, helping people realize what they don't know. How do you fix what you do? I don't know. Yeah, that's percent. And so that's a lot of where my time is spent. A lot of product discovery and helping support clients build the capacity is to do this internally, but also to help solve those problems for the community today.
brilliant. Brilliant, brilliant. And it is day 4 the Inspire Africa Conference. I know you've been here from the beginning. What's your experience been so far?
It's been phenomenal. You come thinking you know stuff, that there's but it's been phenomenal. A lot of I mean a lot of great people that know how networking. There's also been a lot of unlearning and relearning, and it's not 4 days is not a long time to unlearn and read. It's been intense in that way. But it's I think one of the best experiences I've had in this space.
Brilliant. That's so good to hear. And a new culture boutique, you were part of the agenda. But on day 1, they had a panel around product leadership is hard. Tell us a little bit more about some of the discussion points that came from that session.
Right. Uh, I'll start off by mimicking what Christian said. Product is hard. So I think anybody that was in the room, heard it say that several times. But yeah, product leadership is hard. However, one of the things that I tried to focus on was helping us change our approach from looking at everything, all the reasons why things are difficult in Africa, to looking at those challenges as actually being opportunities for us to create hyper local, solutions and African solutions. I'll give an example of this. One of the challenges that often comes up is around fragmented markets in Africa, but maybe this is an opportunity to create a hyper local solution to Africa. We talk about a large informal sector, but M-Pesa, you may have heard of it, that's all about money, is addressing the needs of, the unbanked outside of your traditional confines of the banking sector. So where one would have looked at it and said, "Oh, I can't, solve for banking in Africa, only 30%, are covered." Someone else looked at that problem and said, "Okay, how do I cater to the 70%?" And then but that's a very big opportunity. I think that we also forget that Africa has had successes, in identifying opportunities outside of the traditional way of doing things. In 1996, for example, Vodacom, South Africa, were the first to move to a pay-as-you-go model. Unlike the way it is in most parts of the world. I know things are changing now, but it was, pay for a year-long plan or something. Yeah, they realized that doesn't meet the needs of the African continent because people don't have that much money to pay for a year-long plan, right? And so they were able to adjust based on the needs in the markets. And I think we have seen a lot of success stories, and we need to ask ourselves, okay, what are the lessons we can get from here? What are the frameworks we can be influenced by or inspired by, across the globe? But how do we bring all of that together to create African products, African solutions that we can scale?
Yeah. And I think, my background is in retail e-commerce. And in the UK, at one point, not so much now, it was about creating, websites and experiences which catered to all the different devices, right? You had desktop, tablet, and mobile. And obviously, in Africa, it's kind of leapfrogs. past that, and it was just straight to mobile. Right. So there are, like you said, there are loads of things, successes, if you like, that and that are unique to the market here that we should be happy about, and there's just more and more to help.
Right, it's true. And I think what allows for Africa to leapfrog is actually the constraints, right? Certain technologies that might be taken for granted in other parts of the world, like you talked about tablet, the bedside computer, all of these different things. You're operating in a continent where, internet infrastructure, for example, digital adoption isn't that high. And so you create an app for people to download. 70% of the population doesn't have a smartphone or access to the internet or money to buy data, right? So I think it's these constraints that allow us to leapfrog in terms of these solutions. So yeah, I think it's important that we look at these as opportunities.
Done sense. We've got to reframe it. We should reframe it for sure. 100%. Okay, brilliant. So I've got a few questions for you. So, obviously you work with clients, you support entrepreneurs and innovators with how they can better serve their customers and more efficiently from their organizations. Uh, but how within your organization, how do you foster a culture of continuous learning and innovation so that I suppose that you're better equipped to serve your clients?
That's such a good question. It's so easy to get caught up trying to help people innovate and forget to do that internally. It takes a while sometimes to realize, oh wait, like we should have caught up to that. We should have caught on that that's happening. And so what we implemented organization-wide is what we call Learning Fridays.
Okay.
So on these Fridays, we do not take meetings outside, external meetings, and we use the time internally each unit to, focus on a learning area. So it could be that in that week you identified something that, maybe is worth us, discussing or you want to share with the team. Or at the beginning of the month, we say these are the topics we'd like to cover, and then we use that, on Friday, we use that time to do it. It doesn't always work.
It's that. So do you stick to it? Do you stick to it?
It doesn't always work, I'll be honest, because oftentimes it's, okay, that proposal needs to go, yeah, so I need to do that project, but we are trying to get better. And I think that, having that as a foundation has been helpful to say, okay, yeah, we haven't met in like 2 weeks, but the last time we met, we were talking about, looking at rapid prototyping tools. Where are we with that? And then, we take that up, as opposed to never being intentional about creating that time to do that.
Yeah.
So
It's a bit like date night, right? When the grass, you have to put it in your calendar.
you have to plan for it exactly like date night. So that's definitely one way we're trying to be intentional about it. I think the second way, and this is not really by design, but it is very helpful, is that they are sector agnostic. So we work with clients all across. That means I had no choice but to learn about what's happening in the banking industry. Okay.
Yeah. So
Right. In agri tech, so I think this has also been an opportunity for continuous learning. But yeah, just emphasizing that I've seen this, and we also were victim of it at some point, where you get caught up helping people. You're not taking the time internally to, find new ways of improving processes or delivering new models, new approaches. But yeah, so we had the Learning Fridays. We work, across different sectors, but we also really encourage failure. I encourage my team to experiment, to try, to fail. So everybody, I hope they say the same thing. But everybody in the team, should feel that they have the autonomy to try a different way to do something, of doing something. And so when they propose it, okay, go read more about it. Let us know how it works. How do we, try to implement it? Okay, it worked. It didn't work. We move on. And I think that's made possible because the founders have created that environment, organization wide. And we're also the guinea pigs for lots of technology, to be honest, with AI making all the hype right now, and the income of Gen AI. The big thing was we can't talk to clients about adopting these tools if we don't use them, right? So internally, how can we use these systems and these tools to improve ourselves internally? How can we learn how we grow? So we had a whole, a Gen AI strategy internally to help us learn how we can, improve and to build use cases internally that we can then also share with clients. So I think we're doing our best to keep a culture of continuous learning.
yeah, I'm going to make a note of that. So yeah, I agree. We just can get caught up in everything else, and but it's so important to kind of keep abreast of what's going on in the industry you're working on. And particularly when you're trying to support clients. So you need to know, more than them at least, or to be able to kind of add value. Otherwise, you just get called out, right? This social media being what it is, with the internet being what it is, people can, do a big search and come into a room knowing more that you expect them not to be right. And so you always have to come to the table, at least hopefully more informed about this. Yeah, this information. Brilliant. And then what would you say are the biggest challenges that your clients are facing or have faced in building products within the consumer? I spoke a bit about this during the panel, and I've seen this not just in Zambia but across the continent. I've had conversations with other people in the industry over here. Oftentimes, innovation seems to be the thing you do when you got budget left over. Yeah. Right? So it's not intentionally incorporated into the annual budget. And, we've got X amount of thousands of dollars, let's throw it at the innovation people. What can you do unless made it work? This is our budget, we can't do anything. And unfortunately, what that does is everybody's already coming to the table looking at how to say, for my end, it's okay. What are the hours? How many hours can I put in within this budget, right? From the client's end, it's okay. We need to ensure they can't go, So everybody's coming already with this one strict law. The reason this is a problem is it doesn't allow for us to take the time to actually do good research, right? So is this, you come with a problem, but is it a good problem? Is it a problem worth solving? Not all problems are problems worth solving. And oftentimes, you rush to build a solution to the wrong problem, right? Because we didn't take the time to understand that. And I think this is a big hurdle that's affecting scale of companies, because if you rush, you build this product and then you realize after a couple of months, nobody's downloading it, nobody's using it. It's unlikely that you'll be able to convince a CFO to give you money or buy like the game. You know what I mean? Like, we gave you $20,000. What came out of it? But it also affects us negatively as a consulting party, because it's like you weren't able to attend the public. So I believe that Africa needs to change their approach. Africa can obviously change their approach towards innovation. For us to be able to truly build products that we can scale, we need to spend time understanding the contexts that we're in and ensure that we're building solutions that speak to those contexts. And then we can talk about scale. We can't start from saying, I want to build an app that will go all across Zambia. Okay, but you will. I had one founder say to me that they built an app targeting farmers in remote areas to connect them, to give them access to markets. Now, it sounds very good on paper, right? You're doing the Lord's work, trying to help farmers make more money. But after you talk to them a little bit, you realize, okay, there's some serious gaps with this solution. The first being that you're assuming that a farmer in that far flag area has access to the internet. It was just about there, I could have, right? Always been this as the smartphone, right? Or even the smartphone, they don't have camera phone to essentially like that, chip that. But a lot of people use the feature phones, right? And also with my country is currently going through reporting load shedding since a rationing of power because of the drought. We are hyper electric dependent. So even just that the phone is charged, that's now a constraint that you have to think about, which, maybe 3 years ago you wouldn't have had to consider. But yeah, so this person can say, what, I'm doing this and I need your support. And so after asking these questions, his face drops because he realizes, I'm poking holes in his solution. But it's trying to help people understand that you should fall in love with the problem, not the solution. I like to say, marry the problem to foster result. And the problem we see, if people marry the problem, divorce the results. I like that. So when you're in love with your problem, you're looking for the best solution to solve that problem. However, we see a lot of people in love with the technology. Tech in itself, I don't think tech should be a solution in and of itself. Tech is an enabler. It's a driver. So I think we also have to have this shift in the way that we look at it. It's not just about building to build. It's about building for impact, building to scale. And the only way you could do that is that you're building with the context in mind. And this takes, time. But I guarantee you, you might not be willing to spend the money now, but I guarantee you, you wish you had in the future, because then we've also seen it, everyone mentioned names, but
spotlight and rolled out a project and called us and said, I don't know why it's not working. And we said, oh, how we wish you had told us before you built it. So now you're looking at spending a lot more money to fix, a lot more money than much is what you had saved to fix the problem.
Brilliant. And like one of my final questions is like around partnerships and collaboration. And in your view, obviously from a consultancy perspective, you're there to support and help and advise your clients. But what do you think from your standpoint, what partnership or collaborations would be key in driving innovation within the African tech ecosystem?
So two things. I think the first is what is called a triple helix model. So there must be a synergy between industry, academia, and the government, as opposed to each one kind of doing work inside those. In theory, what should happen is industry informs academia on the areas of research, right? And okay, in the next 5 years, you know, this is the space you're playing in. What would it look like in the next 5 years? And academia, conducts the research. They set time to do research. Academia spends time conducting research and speeding new information in back to industry. And the government is creating an environment that's conducive, an amazing environment for all players to come together, right? So, okay, they're talking about AI now. How can we create an environment that enables industry to utilize AI to improve processes, increase efficiency? What does this look like? And some elaboration of this week says, okay, we saw a paper that's been done and this and that, and these are the regulations the policies that you need to have put in place. We cannot continue to work in silos. Yeah, right. So there must be collaboration between industry, academia, and the government. And also in return, industry is taking, when these graduates are done, they come into industry. But if we're doing this, they're coming also informed. Unfortunately, a lot of people are being exposed to these technologies in the workplace. Yeah. Right? It's already creating such a gap, especially if you're a CEO founder and you don't have that much money to spend. I'm not looking at, getting you who I have to train. I'll say, oh, what's the cheapest pay? Let me outsource. You get somebody which isn't doing our talent any good. The second, I would say also across borders, we need to collaborate. Yes, there are differences, but there are also a lot of similarities across the continent. We were having this conversation yesterday. We look at these hard lines and hard border lines, but we forget that these are only a couple of years old, 100 maybe not than that. My great grandfathers right the world from Zimbabwe and from Zambia because there was no border. Yeah. So what are the issues that we can come together to collaborate on that would enable us to save resources, but also, conduct joint research, right? How can we leverage that? Because we literally have a family on both sides on the border, right? So how can we take advantage of our uniqueness? Instead of calling it fragmented, I'll say uniqueness. But how can you take advantage of this and how can we collaborate across borders? Yeah, right. So that on a global scale, it's not on a continental scale. It's not that Zambia is working hard on this project and Zimbabwe is working on this project, and then at the end of 5 years, nobody has really done anything because we didn't have enough resources to do it individually. Yeah. If we were able to pull that and identify what's the talent we need and go, we're actually very rich in talent. Yes, there's a lot more that we can do in terms of mentoring and growth, but we do have a lot of very intelligent people on the bounces, right? We can pull a lot of that resource to build solutions that make sense for us. So I think these are the two collaborations I would speak of.
Yeah. And how well do you think, countries, Zambia or others are doing in terms of kind of working together, right? You talked about sort of industry, academia, and how are those and government, how are those working together? Are there any good examples where countries are kind of moving in the right direction, would you say?
So I think in theory, most countries will say that they're like, we're big to respect this. But in actuality, well, not so much in actuality. Someone said creating policies and documents is not Africa's problem. It's implementing that. That's true. Yeah. So I think the willingness and the desire is there. Maybe it's just the support of the guidance, figuring out how to practically live this out is where we need to schedule the execution, right? is where we need to do a bit more.
Brilliant. Well, thank you, Tim. That's been lovely speaking to you. I'm happy to finally got a chance to sit down.
Happy.
And yeah, a really, really engaging and thought-provoking conversation. So thank you very much for your time.